Oh, Ray, you had to know this was coming, right? Honestly, I was debating whether or not to address you or let sleeping dogs lie. But after seeing your shenanigans with Moni, now I'm going to have to address you. You really thought it was appropriate to have a drill session with someone who was discussing arts and crafts in a TikTok post. She was asking others about what arts and crafts they were working on, and you thought you saw an opening. Everyone saw through your underhanded tactics of trying to pretend you were merely just curious and meant no harm. You were trying to imply she was a pretendian and not so many words. Then exposed your hand when you attempted to confront her on her own live. And I have to say, I love how y'all try to play innocent, but end up exposing your anti-blackness. You decided to try this with one of the most unproblematic people on the app. Let's dissect your conversation with Mateo.
Authority to be like arbiters over not just the oppression of black people, but the oppression of women, the oppression of Native American people, the oppression of LGBT people, the oppression of autistic or neurodivergent people, ableist by disabled people. They're the authority of everything, right? They enter every space like an inquisitor. You know what I'm saying? And they center themselves, and they always have that trump card. They really believe that being black is a trump card, and they have constructed this this inverted hierarchy, because we know like the actual hierarchies that exist of white tea supremacy. They go, white tea people at the top, and then you got the various types of spicy white in the middle. You got Jews and white teas kind of competing for the top spot, and they kind of hate each other, right? And then you have like Asian people and Native American people and black people at the bottom, right? But there's if you flip that upside down, there's quarrel about who's on top, like, because whoever should be on top should have been the lowest person on the totem pole before. Like, who's the lowest person? Then you get into all this disputes about who had, and then the oppression Olympics happens. It's like, now we're competing about who's had it worse. And there's no fucking comparison. It's an impossible thing to quantify. You can't quantify it.
Nope. Still lose. So, and we ain't out here trying to be the most oppressed motherfuckers. We're actually out here fighting. You know what I mean? For our culture, for our people and shit like that. It's every day that when do you get on TikTok and don't see some shit about everybody, all of the indigenous people reposting shit, that whether it's happening on reservations or people who are living in the cities and whatnot go missing, all of that stuff. There's so many videos out there, and there's so many people who are reposting them, talking about them and shit like that. But, and we're not taking on the mentality of the victim. We are aware of the history. We are aware of the past. We are aware of what we still go through, but we don't use it as a woe is me. I'm more oppressed than everybody in the world type shit.
Are you genuinely challenging the entrenched caste system we're entrenched in? Frankly, I'm not surprised by your rhetoric. This habit of diminishing the experiences of black people and black history is sadly predictable. What's ironic is that both of you were recently advocating for unity on Blackwater's platform, yet here you are, mere days later, revealing your true colors. That switch up is crazy.
Not even so much that they're like, that's how they argue it. Like, they'll say that at the bottom of the totem pole, the very bottom, would be like a trans or like a non-binary female black woman who's neurodivergent, like all these boxes you check, right? And so whoever has all those boxes gets to wear the badge and be the indigenous and identity police. They have the identity police badge on because they checked all the boxes, and now they're going to validate or invalidate who they deem fit. Because if you're at the bottom of the totem pole, now with the inverted hierarchy, you're at the very top. So whoever can prove the most oppression gets the most room to speak. And basically the authority on all subjects, like the determining factors, the judgment of this particular most marginalized group. It's like, good God, dude. Like that's you're just exchanging one system of hierarchical control for another. And this one's justified, so now we can't even argue with it.
And we can, but we choose not to because it's stupid to argue with somebody about who's more oppressed. Like, how dumb do you sound being like, well, our people went through this first. No, and our people went through that first, and our people still go through that. Like, we can acknowledge this shit. We talk about it in our lives if they were ever a part of them and actually wanted to have those exchanges and how similar our experiences are, and some the same. Like, we could have those because we have them all the time whenever we're in groups with each other. It just so happens they don't come in there to do that. They go in there to belittle and call names and push in the conversation and take it over and make it about them. And it's just like, bro, like, the fuck, we were having a really great conversation and everybody was talking. Now all of a sudden here you are fucking crying about some stupid shit that we were literally just talking about and sharing apart, laughing at our traumas, sharing our traumas, fucking making jokes and shit. Like, we're talking about it and it's healing, but you just want to center yourself, say what you got to say, and then get the fuck out. And it's just like, well, what the hell? And if we say anything to you, all of a sudden we're anti something. Like, the shit is annoying, and I've seen it, and I've tried, and you know, in some ways I have sympathized with it because I'm like, I go through the same shit, and I've seen them go through that shit too. So, like, you know, I was like, yeah, that's fucked up. You know, that shouldn't be happening. But then it just, I don't know what new generation of these motherfuckers came in and just don't know the definition of words because they never had to go to the library. But motherfucker, like, you fucked up the whole English language in that way. And I don't even care enough to preserve the English language. But motherfucker, if you're gonna use these words like you smart or something, at least use them correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're very accustomed to using this rhetorical tactic of like bullying and self-centering in every conversation against performative white liberals.
Yeah.
Who are willing to bend over backwards to prove to them, I'm not like the other evil white people, I swear.
Yeah.
I'll do anything. Anything? Yes. Well, then betray your own people.
To the black people watching, take notice of how these two are talking. While everyone doesn't hold these ideologies and beliefs, there are many that do. Apparently, black people are bullies according to Mateo. People who speak like this do so from privilege. These individuals base their value in life from their white proximity.
Right? Fucking just completely submit.
And there's some people who will completely discount their experiences just to not look that way and just to be that little laphead. And I'm like, bitch, the fuck?
I think it works mostly on performative white liberals. They're the easiest targets. That shit don't work on me. I'll fight you all day about that shit. But they're not used to the pushback because a performative white liberal never will push back. You know what I'm saying? They have no self-respect. But like indigenous and other you know, different types of minorities in the country, you know, we don't have the same sort of disparities in power and privilege, really. You know what I'm saying? Some do to a degree, but like really between indigenous people and African American people, it's really if not dead tie, then it's too big to measure, and we can't know. So, well, you know, it's a draw, if anything.
We know the shit, but we don't go, like I said, we don't go around like fucking skipping around and be like, I'm the most oppressed, boo. Like, that shit is stupid. It's dumb. We would look stupid doing that shit. And that's not how we roll. That's not how we work. We don't want to be the most oppressed. We're fighting against it, motherfucker. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? We bring awareness to the problems. We acknowledge them, but we don't live in them in that way, mentally and emotionally. We still have that fight in us that's like, nah, you're not gonna treat me like that. Like, bitch, the fuck you doing? You're doing colonizer shit. Like, you're doing the shit that they do over there, and so I'm gonna treat you like that. And then all of a sudden, it's, oh, well, they don't accept me. It's like, no, bitch, we don't accept you not because of how you look. It's because of how you act. It's because of how you treat us while you're over here trying to claim to be us and trying to force us to accept you. We're already accepting, bitch. We having this conversation. We're talking to you. We're treating you like we treat each other. And you think that you get some special treatment just because of how you look, bitch? Like, suck my...
Ray is using a black scent while talking crazy about black people. And might I emphasize how using a black scent while simultaneously using AAVE and trash talking the black community is wild. Let's go down this rabbit hole, shall we? Y'all really are going a bit too far with this pretendian shit. Yeah, it's wrong to dabble in a culture that isn't yours. I 100% back that, but if everyone is sticking to their own culture, then y'all are going to have to stop doing this. The ones being the most vocal about this are engaging in taking what they want from black culture, while thinking they have the right to police what black people can do. We gotta keep that same energy across the board. You can't rewrite well-documented history anyway, so what exactly is the point of going nuclear?
And people will take offense because I cuss when I talk. Fuck you. Like, your mama too. Like, honestly, I do not care. Like, this is just how I talk. Anybody who has ever met me, who has ever known me on this app, off this app, they know I cuss when I speak. And if that's what you choose to focus on, that means that you're trying to deflect and deter the conversation just to be like, oh, she's hostile and she's aggressive. Motherfucker, this is just how I talk. Okay.
I mean, they'll be cheering you on if they're sicking you on somebody that they want you to use your indigenous card to fucking to check, right? And then they'll cheer you on to be as flagrant as you want. But when it's time for them to speak to you as an equal, it's a problem, you know.
Yep. We're not treated as their equal, so they want to be treated as our equal. They actually want us to treat them better than we treat each other. And who the fuck are you?
Yeah. Well, it's a loyalty test. It's like, okay, that's why I see a lot of these natives on here who also contribute to this, calling everybody anti-black off of frivolous nonsense, right? And it's because like they want to I forgot how I was going to say it. How was I going to put that? What'd you say? What was the last thing you said again? I forgot what you said.
They want us to treat them better than we treat each other.
Oh, yeah. So it's like all these natives, it's like, are you willing to go into a native space and nitpick every statement as a microaggression that's anti-black against every indigenous person in there, and then completely recenter the whole discussion, whatever it was about? It could have been about economics, could have been about politics, could have been about healthcare, anything, right? Now, all that is screeched to a halt, and we are getting down to the nitty-gritty of who is the anti-black person here? Who is the witch in Salem?
And everybody's
right?
a witch right now. Everybody.
We're going on a witch hunt. Every native live is going on a witch hunt for who's the because we all hear about how anti-black natives are. So if there's more than 10 natives, at least one of them is anti-black. So we got to get that guy and single him out. And every other discussion can cease now because this is the main focus. And like, whose interest does that serve? That doesn't serve indigenous people's interests.
This comment is really telling, though. An indigenous man that only dates white women is indicative of a larger issue. You, with a white mother, a white wife, and a mixed-race child, you seem fixated on claiming a native identity while displaying anti-black behavior. Your online behavior reeks of anti-blackness under the guise of we're trying to stop the pretendians as a shield for your antics.
It gums up the gears so we never move, we never get anywhere, and it doesn't. Like, whose interest is it serving, you know? It's like, if it just reinforces colonialism, all it is.
Because when we have conversations, we don't mention, the only time that I've ever mentioned the black community in the conversations about indigeneity and what in our experiences, I'm like, oh yeah, I see how it parallels with their experiences too. Especially if somebody's of that community or presents as that community or is of that mixed descendancy. I'm like, because that's my way of being like, yeah, relating. Yeah, we do go through that too. We have that. And over here, we call it this, or they do it this way and all this shit. Like, it's only relatable. And generalizing all of the indigenous people, the whole ass indigenous community is anti-indigenous. Because you don't want us generalizing you. You don't want us to generalize the whole ass community, and we don't. We are anytime we talk about shit like this, we specify what kind of people these are.
Claiming to confront white individuals as well doesn't hold water, especially when you've spewed rhetoric suggesting African Americans are more white. However, statistics reveal it's Native Americans who predominantly marry white partners, shedding light on the animosity towards black people. Gaslighting won't work here. Your failure to accept accountability is evident. It's time to face the consequences instead of deflecting and gaslighting. I come armed with evidence, immune to your manipulative tactics, your false notions of not generalizing, while generalizing throughout this rant reeks of cognitive dissonance.
We're very intent on and genuine when we talk about these problems and we specify what kind of people specifically these are. And they know who the fuck we're talking about because we're not generalizing. Because there's so many people that they come in our spaces, we go in their spaces, and we'll be laughing and talking and chilling and actually sharing culture and shit. And they don't see us like that. It's only a specific type of person. And usually it's a motherfucker who's making false claims and doesn't want it and is hostile because they can't answer these questions. So they turn it into something it's not because they're not really what they say they are, or they're claiming it not in the way that they should be claiming it.
Ray, your actions speak volumes. You confirmed Moni's suspicions by insinuating she was not genuine.
Behavior of it's searchable. Like I said, there's a way to set a boundary. There's a way to set a boundary that doesn't, especially when you and I have never had any bad blood between us, especially on here. Like I said previously, you had a whole live with me and I think that baby G chick who isn't even Puerto Rican. She's a whole Italian woman. But you had her on your live because you wanted to learn about other cultures, right? We were culturally sharing. So I went up there and I was telling you about the people from my region and some of them and how they do certain things and, you know, what they do have as a result. You know what I mean? And that was fine. I didn't get offended at any of the questions. We were there to culturally share. I never had a bad experience with you being in any of your lives where you're reading from books about Indigenous people. And so I was just like, okay, well, this, you know, cultural sharing. You literally had a video posted about a project that's a part of your culture. I had never asked you about who. So let's pause right there.
Let's pause right there. Let's pause right there. This live that you're referencing as a reason that you felt that it was okay for you to ask the line of questions that you did on the post about my beadwork, which was what the post was about, was my beadwork. That was not a free-for-all post to ask questions about Anishinaabe culture, history, or any of that. That's not what that was for. And when I told you that, you kind of went down this spiral of reasons you felt it was, when I said it was not. My question for you is, why did you feel...
You were the one who mentioned it.
My question for you is, why did you feel that it was appropriate for you to assert that line of questioning in a post that was about sharing a project or a craft that I completed when that wasn't the topic?
Because I never asked you about your tribal people before.
How did you not when we had a whole culture? You just said we had cultural sharing. So how did you not know who you were talking to?
I literally just said
that doesn't make sense, ma'am.
In that whole live, I never asked you who your people were.
Hold on. We're not going to talk over, not as a guest. Why would you feel that you needed to ask that line of questions if we had a whole cultural live where we were culturally sharing? Was it because you forgot the people or the nation I said I was from, which is also searchable? Was it because you second guessed whether I was who I said I was? What was the process that led you to believe that line of questioning was appropriate, especially once I said I'm done answering questions? That's what I want to know.
I asked you who your people were because you said Anishinaabe. There are many people. It's like there are many people that spoke that name. So you said Inda. So I said, oh, okay. And then you mentioned the three fires. And I was like, oh, snap. What's that? Like legit, just a genuine question off of something you mentioned, off of a question you answered. And then all of a sudden it's searchable. Like, okay, well, to me, it's if
no, I'm it wasn't all of a sudden. It wasn't all of a sudden.
Information as far as learning, cultural sharing, and if you're willing to answer those questions, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, what's that? And then it's searchable. And then all of a sudden, you're trying to make it seem like I'm demanding you to answer a question when I was just like, oh, well, I just wanted to learn from the people instead of Google, because Google's not always correct. And there's people out there who don't have the correct information. And since you're saying you're of the people, I'm like, oh, and you're already answering the question instead of being like, oh, I don't want to, I really don't want to talk about that right now. I just want to focus on, my piece. Okay, bet. But
my question is, why did you need to be told that in the first place? Why did you need to be told this isn't the post
already
for that?
Answering the questions?
No. No,
Like
no.
the fuck kind of weirdo shit are y'all on? Y'all got TikTok.
Okay.
Y'all let TikTok get y'all fucked in y'all's head.
I guess we
Y'all
do,
really
huh?
do.
I guess we do, huh? And that's that. That's all we need to.
Because
I think something that we need to watch out for. Hold on.
because I can guarantee you, we check each other too. We check the white folks. We check anybody who makes false claims, and it could be that the way they claim it, whether one minute they're on their journey, and then 10 months later they're fully enrolled and grew up with their shit, or 1 month they're claiming something, claiming one nation or one tribe, and then in 3 months down the road, it's a whole completely different one from a different part of the landmass.
You know what I was gonna say is shit. My bad. Sorry.
I'm good. But yeah, like there is no, at least in my spaces, that's why I'm holding this space. Is if anybody has like a grievance they want to air with me, who was talking about me today, because I know Lorena was talking about, oh, she interrogates me all the time. Motherfucker, you post
Thought
about
you
the
guys were cool.
Hinasara.
I
I
didn't know you
asked
guys
you
were
about the
getting
Hinasara. And if you can't handle the questions that I ask, maybe don't post the shit, because I'm actually asking you questions that pertain to the specific information that you post. How is that interrogating?
Yeah. I mean, I saw
And I've
the
done
whole
my own
exchange.
research on the Hinasara. You had inspired me to go do research on them. And it's a weird history, because I have never
Yeah.
heard another nation, an indigenous person of the Comanche, of the Dene, of the Apache, talk about the Hinasara.
Mm-hmm. There's
That's
a
why I
lot of
have so many fucking
little.
questions, because they name them specifically. And anytime
Mhm.
I've heard anybody of that nation speak, they never mention it.
What was
And
that? I'm
now I
sorry, I
can
can't
see
hear you.
why.
What was that?
I said, and now I can see why.
Mm.
Like I was cool with her. I really started off with trying to get to know her, and I thought we were cool.
So, you and Lorena are like beefing now or what?
I don't know. She went into Moni's live talking about, oh, she always interrogates.
Mm. Well, I mean, I think a healthy circle is one that can keep each other accountable without taking it too personal. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, it's okay to get a little defensive at first, but never burn the bridge that you can. So you guys, you know what I'm saying? Never burn the bridge. So like, there's a couple people I burn bridges with, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, fuck you for life until like, I don't budge on that. I have my lines, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, fucking,
And
I think
I've never
she should
like
be,
told her that she's not indigenous. I've never invalidated her ancestors' stripes as far as being captives and whatnot. I was asking genuine questions about the Hinasat, because they're on here all the time talking about it. So I'm like,
yeah,
well, let me show interest in the topic. And then I
yeah,
started asking questions, and all of a sudden it's an interrogation. And instead of talking to me, because we're mutuals and we're in lives a lot together, you go into somebody else's life who's trying to make me look anti-black, and you tell them, yeah, she interrogates me a lot. But yet you
mm,
get on here and you're like, I'm a grown person. If I have a problem with you, I'll talk to you about it.
yeah. I
Man,
mean,
that's hypocritical. And
I
I don't
wanted to say
understand
one. I
that.
want to say one thing that I forgot. I was going to say. I probably got to get off though because my son's he wants his dad. He keeps wanting. He wants me. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but like I was going to say is this these like wabos and shit, and these like hoteps and these Israelites, and all these weird conspiracy cult identity cult people. Like we assume that because they at least on the face seem to be like focusing on civil rights or equality, right? Um, like you shouldn't just assume that about them because that like they come in varieties just like everybody else. There's liberal and conservative, Republican, Democrat. There's moderate and or progressive, right? So like these wobbles and these hotep type of people, they are the far right of the it's not really Western political.
There's Casey. Word has it you weren't too pleased when I called you out for your questionable alliances. And rightfully so. You've been cozying up to anti-black individuals time and time again, and here you are, repeating the cycle. But let's not pretend I'm fazed by your attempt to claim Garifuna heritage. Frankly, I couldn't care less. Especially when your partner just unleashed a tirade against the black community alongside their friend, Mateo, and you've got nothing but silence to offer. But hold on, let me enlighten you real quick. Some of you seem a bit slow on the uptake, but this is about to become a lesson you won't soon forget.
JD, go ahead, bro.
No, that's it. That's all I'm gonna say.
All
But
right,
like, so
all right. You want to share, bro?
that's why I heard the two
right
names,
now.
and I thought they
This
were.
is my first
corresponding.
time hearing about this.
I
Oh
heard
yeah,
the
because
two
y'all are
names.
new. Y'all
It's
wouldn't
because
y'all
they were-
wouldn't talk about it because that was a while ago. That was like whole
Okay.
other shit.
No,
Maybe
it's because there
second,
was,
kinda,
it's because there was
sorta.
jealousy. I'll talk about it. It's because there was a jealousy between two of them. She may have been flirting with both of them. In case you got offended that Stumpy got a little bit more attention, but then when Stumpy didn't get attention, he started trying to dox, and then they made this fucking Discord chat showing her nudes, spreading her nudes that she may or may have not sent to each of them, but it was between them, not anybody else. But they chose to send it to other people. That's why they're both pieces of shit, in my opinion. So fuck them both. And I got receipts for all that shit. I still got the receipts for all that shit. But it got that deep. So that's why both of them are not fucking, I don't care about past. There's no forgiving. And if you made amends, cool. Cool. But no, there's no forgiving the actions that they did as a man for morality reasons.
Give that shit.
You
I
gotta
just
stand
don't.
on morals. You gotta stand on who you are. I gotta show my sons. I
I
got
just
sons.
don't
and
bring it up because it's. I mean, it's always gonna have. It's always gonna come out anyway. So if you choose to do that, I'm not gonna stop you. I just choose not to speak on it because I'm
I don't give
just.
a shit. Nah, I'm gonna speak some truth.
I
'Cause right now
don't. I
I feel
don't
like you're
get.
covering up some shit that needs to
I'm
be
covering up some shit. First of all, JD, let's not do this.
No,
Because
I
you
feel
sound
like
like you're getting emotional over it, and I'm
it's
not here
not
to
being
get
emotional.
emotional.
I'm just being real. I
I'm
feel
being
like
real with you too, and I'm
no,
telling you
there's
my
no
choice. I
defending either one of
literally
them
just
though.
said you can do what you want to do.
There's
As
no
for
defending
me,
either one of
that
them.
does
That's
not
why
mean
I
I'm
couldn't
covering
stay
up some
quiet.
shit because I already gave my accounts of my experiences with these people.
After I know your account too, I'm not gonna talk about that.
Yeah. So
I'm not
that's
gonna
why
talk
I
about
say
that. I
because
know
it's
your
my
account
own
too.
shit and that I have to continue to relive. That's why I was just like, okay, well, let's move off of her because those are her traumas.
Yeah, 10-4. So
That's not for me to
you know
speak on,
exactly what
and
I'm
you need
talking
to
about. But they
acknowledge
were
about
both
her
involved.
traumas because
Let's
I
not
have
act like
my own stories.
then let's not act like they were innocent. We don't have to talk about
Who
her.
acted like they were innocent, JD?
There you go. Then I'm not gonna talk
When did
about
I
it.
say they were
Then I'm not gonna
innocent?
talk about it. Then if as long as you agree on that, then I agree with you. You're
No,
right.
yeah,
And
like
that's
I
what I'm
never
gonna
said
talk
they were
about.
innocent. I just don't speak on because I have my own experiences
But
that I
that's
don't go full in context with because of those reasons, because of
it
my
doesn't matter.
own
So as a man,
emotional
that's fuck
standpoints.
shit that I can't ignore. There's no
Yeah,
forgiveness as a
you
man.
shouldn't have to ignore it either.
I'm never gonna forgive that shit.
Your pal, Mono, whom you seem to think you're tight with, is using JD as a mouthpiece to throw shade your way. And why? Well, so Mono can keep his hands clean, maintain that air of plausible deniability. Just when JD and the crew are done dragging you, who strolls into Mono's live? You, of course. And what does Mono do? Plays dumb, like he's got no idea what's going down. It's a classic move, Casey. And it's high time you wise up to the game being played around you. Never get upset with another black person trying to help you.
Wake up, nigga. A nigga wake up calls a bitch.
Right? And within that inner politics, there's all kinds of variety. And the variety that we're talking about, the Wabos and the Hoteps, they are the far right. They're the goose stepping jackboots of that community. And there's this tendency to say that only when we think of Nazis and the Triple K and whatnot, we think of just YT oppressor. And it's like, yeah, sure, that's fact, it's history, right? But that political sentiment that led to that movement of this racial supremacy, nationalism, denial of science and equality, belief in racial science and race realism or whatever, right? Those political tendencies exist in the black community, the Native American community. Every community has it. If we all have our little fascist cousins, you know what I'm saying? And if you don't check your fascist cousins, they do atrocities. So it doesn't matter what color they are. If I see a Mexican saying some fascist shit, that's my shit on my bio says I expose fascists and I fucking sing songs, So it's but I think fascism, and I'm not saying that like colloquially. I mean, like literally, the political tendency of fascism is undercover and very prevalent in the West, in the United States especially. And if you guys don't listen to me, there's going to be, and I told you, we've been knowing each other for a year, and you didn't used to believe me or agree with me, but if you don't believe this, I tell you, in 2 years you probably will. There's going to be a fascist takeover of the U.S. government. We're going to lose our rights. It's going to be a police state, and the Nazis are going to take over.
They're trying to do that now with the let them eat cereal, and all the prices are ridiculously high, and they're taking, like, I think in Kentucky they're taking away like breaks, or they're trying to, or some shit. Like, they're trying to start some shit. They really are.
There's going to be a fascist coup. Like, Trump, whether he wins or not, he's going to be the president.
Martial law bullshit. Like,
and so it's like
it's all in there. I was like, y'all ain't never seen movies, motherfuckers. It's all in there.
There's this book called "It Can't Happen Here" by this guy named I forgot his last name, but it's called "Can't Happen Here," and it's like a fictional story, alternate history if the United States had turned fascist instead of the Nazis or the Germany, right? And dude, it is like, it was written in the 30s or 40s, I think, and it's like a crystal ball to what we have today. Like, it says like the fascists will have like Christian iconography, like crosses and shit, and like American flag. It was, you got to read the book, but anyways, it's like I'm about to jump off right now, but yeah, dude, we got to watch out for these fascists. Fucking, we need. I want to do a live soon where we kind of focus on fascism and how it can creep into every ethnicity, every racial group, and that those fascist cells will hook up with each other. Like, you think Triple K and Nation of Islam hate each other? No, they work together. They're both far right, racial separatists. They want the same thing, and they're on record collaborating with shit. So, like, the enemy of my enemy is not always my friend, you know. But anyways, I'll see you later.
All right, bye. But yeah, like, racism is in every community. I don't give a damn if you think that your people cannot be racist because systemically you face systemic racism. So do we. But racism in general, just the basic foundation of racism. Yes, every single community has it within their community. And we see it every day on this app. We experience it in some way, shape, or form on this app. So to sit and go around this app and basically start looking like these ethnocentrics or the pretendians, it kind of gives red flags. If you give off that behavior, you're going to be looked at as such. You're going to be treated as such. That's like if we were doing some WHITE supremacy shit as people of color to specific group of people, they would treat us as such. We don't even do it, and they treat us like that. So while they're trying to make claims that they're the original people or some bullshit like that, so without any proof, any evidence, not an air one of them has provided any viable evidence. But yeah, so I'm holding this space so these people can come up in here because they had so much to say earlier. I saw the comments. Pocket Polly, who used to be a part of our friend group, I never really interacted with her. Over there co-signing on some weird shit. And as long as anybody's ever known my account, you can scroll through my account and you will not see any videos attacking Indigenous people, women specifically, or men, actually. So, like, these people go into these places, they don't even know me. People who I don't even know have blocked me because they say that I speak over Indigenous people. When the hell have I ever spoken over an Indigenous person? Like, I'll wait. Somebody answer.
You seem to have a misunderstanding of what racism is, so let's tackle this. Let's go back in time to Portugal. Our story begins around the mid-1400s in the coastal reaches of Portugal, a pivotal moment in history where the winds of change were blowing across the globe. It was here, against the backdrop of burgeoning exploration and trade, that the seeds of modern racial ideology were sown. Until his death in 1460, Prince Henry sponsored Atlantic voyages into West Africa by the Portuguese to circumvent Islamic slave traders, and in doing so created a different sort of slavery than hadn't existed before. Pre-modern Islamic slave traders, like their Christian counterparts in pre-modern Italy, were not pursuing racist ideologies. They were enslaving what we now consider to be Africans, Arabs, and Europeans alike. At the dawn of the modern world, the Portuguese began to exclusively trade African bodies. Prince Henry's sailors made history when they navigated past the feared black hole of Cape Bojador, off Western Sahara, and brought enslaved Africans back to Portugal. Prince Henry's first biographer and apologist became the first racemaker and crafter of racist ideas. King Afonso V commissioned Gomes de Zurara, a royal chronicler and a loyal commander in Prince Henry's military order of Christ, to compose a glowing biography of the African adventures of his beloved uncle. Zurara finished the Chronicle of the Discovery and Conquest of Guinea in 1453, the first European book on Africa. One of Zurara's stories chronicled Prince Henry's first major slave auction in Lagos, Portugal, in 1444. He wrote, "Some captives were white enough, fair to look upon, and well-proportioned, while others were like mulattoes or as black as Ethiops, and so ugly. Despite their different skin colors and languages and ethnic groups, Zurara blended them into one single group of people, worthy of enslavement. Unlike babies, phenomenons are typically born long before humans give them names." Zurara did not call black people a race. French poet Jacques Debris first used the term race in a 1481 hunting poem. In 1606, the same diplomat who brought the addictive tobacco plant to France formally defined race for the first time in a major European dictionary. Race means descent, Jean Nicot wrote in the Trésor de la langue française. Therefore, it is said that a man, a horse, a dog, or another animal is from a good or bad race. From the beginning, to make races was to make racial hierarchy. Gomes de Zurara grouped all those peoples from Africa into a single race for that very reason, to create hierarchy, the first racist ideology. Race-making is an essential ingredient in the making of racist ideas, the crust that holds the pie. Once a race has been created, it must be filled in, and Zurara filled it with negative qualities that would justify Prince Henry's evangelical mission to the world. This black race of people was lost, living like beasts, without any custom of reasonable beings, Zurara wrote. They had no understanding of good, but only knew how to live in a bestial sloth. After Spanish and Portuguese colonizers arrived in the Americas in the 15th century, they took to race-making all the different indigenous peoples, calling them one people, Indians, or Negros de terra, blacks from the land. In 16th century Brazil, Spanish lawyer Alonso de Zuazo in 1510 contrasted the beastly race of blacks as strong for work, the opposite of the natives, so weak who can work only in undemanding tasks. Both racist constructions normalized and rationalized the increased importing of the supposedly strong enslaved Africans and the ongoing genocide of the supposedly weak Indians in the Americas. From 1434 to 1447, Gomes de Zurara estimated 927 enslaved Africans landed in Portugal, the greater part of whom were turned into the true path of salvation. It was, according to Zurara, Prince Henry's paramount achievement, an achievement blessed by successive popes. No mention of Prince Henry's royal fifth, Quinto, the 185 or so of those captives he was given, a fortune in bodies. The obedient Gomes de Zurara created racial difference to convince the world that Prince Henry, and thus Portugal, did not slave trade for money, only to save souls. The liberators had come to Africa. Zurara personally sent a copy of the Chronicle of the Discovery and Conquest of Guinea to King Afonso with an introductory letter in 1453. He hoped the book would keep Prince Henry's name before the eyes of the world, to the great praise of his memory. Gomes de Zurara secured Prince Henry's memory as surely as Prince Henry secured the wealth of the royal court. King Afonso was accumulating more capital from selling enslaved Africans to foreigners than from all the taxes levied on the entire kingdom, observed a traveler in 1466. Race had served its purpose. Prince Henry's racist policy of slave trading came first, a cunning invention for the practical purpose of bypassing Muslim traders. After nearly 2 decades of slave trading, King Afonso asked Gomez de Zurara to defend the lucrative commerce in human lives, which he did through the construction of a black race, an invented group upon which he hung racist ideas. This cause and effect, a racist power creates racist policies out of raw self-interest. The racist policies necessitate racist ideas to justify them, lingers over the life of racism. In the vast tapestry of human history, one thread stands out starkly against the rest. It's a concept that was not born of necessity or truth, but of greed. The concept of race was forged with one singular purpose: profit. This insidious social construct didn't just linger in the shadows, it spread its tendrils far and wide, leaving an indelible mark on every corner of our planet. It erected a hierarchy so deeply entrenched that it relegated black people to the lowest rung, while elevating white people to the pinnacle of societal power. This hierarchy manifested in various systems, from healthcare to entertainment to justice, perpetuating injustice at every turn. This is why the notion that black people can be racist is fundamentally flawed. Racism was crafted specifically to denigrate and dehumanize black individuals. Racism isn't merely about hurt feelings, it's the deeply ingrained belief in the inherent inferiority of black people, woven into the fabric of society itself. Many may claim they aren't racist because they don't harbor overtly hateful sentiments, but the truth is far more nuanced. Anti-blackness and racism exist on a spectrum, with varying degrees of severity. It's not just about lynching, it's about confronting the biases we all carry and dismantling them, piece by piece. In the intricate tapestry of Latin American history, a phrase echoes through the ages: mejorar la raza, meaning to improve the race. At first glance, it seems like a noble endeavor, a means to uplift the Latino people. But beneath the surface lies a grim irony, a tool of oppression wielded against African and indigenous populations. This belief that one could elevate their status by diluting dark skin birthed the caste system, with colorism and featureism at its core. Colorism, discrimination based on skin color within ethnic or racial groups, a direct descendant of racism, white supremacy, and colonialism. White people cannot experience colorism because it's attuned to centering whiteness. Featureism, discrimination based on features diverging from European beauty norms, favoring so-called Euro features. This painting portrays 3 generations of racial whitening: a presumed full black grandmother, a half-black mother, a white father, and their 1/4 black child. The grandmother, thanking the Lord, finds solace in her grandchild's lighter complexion, a product of this generational whitening. Its title, A Redencio de Cam, a redemption of Ham, alludes to the biblical story of Ham, whose lineage was cursed. Noah's son, Ham, saw his father in a vulnerable state and faced repercussions, leading to the curse of servitude upon his son, Canaan. This tale was twisted to justify the enslavement of black people, claiming they were the descendants of Ham and Canaan, cursed by their darker skin. Yet, in this painting, they seek redemption through whitening, symbolizing the erasure of perceived impurities. In the quest for racial redemption, the echoes of history reverberate, reminding us of the deep-seated roots of oppression and the enduring struggle for true equality. Majora la raza, to improve the race. But whose race, and at what cost? This phrase, deeply entrenched in Latin American society, elevates lighter-skinned individuals with Eurocentric features while marginalizing those with darker skin and Afrocentric features. The closer one aligns with whiteness, the greater the privileges, higher incomes, better employment prospects, increased marriage rates, and even leniency in criminal sentencing. The closer one aligns with whiteness, the greater the privileges, higher incomes, better employment prospects, increased marriage rates, and even leniency in criminal sentencing. This saying unveils the Latino community's enduring struggle with colorism, internalized racism, and societal conditioning. Traits deemed more European are synonymous with higher social standing and refinement, from hair texture to skin color to facial features. In the quest for acceptance and validation, generations have grappled with the legacy of colonialism, wrestling with the insidious effects of colorism and internalized oppression. In the annals of history, the caste system stands as a testament to the oppression and division wrought upon the native and African populations of Latin America, organized in a rigid, racially determined order. Latin American societies relegated individuals to predetermined castes, dictating their opportunities and social standing. At the zenith stood the exclusive domain of the white elite, their privilege unchallenged and untouchable. Below, the mestizos, born of European and indigenous heritage, and the mulattoes, born of European and African lineage. occupied an ambiguous space, neither fully accepted nor wholly rejected, yet, at the nadir of this hierarchy lay the indigenous and black populations, burdened by the weight of centuries of subjugation and discrimination. To the white elite, this hierarchy wasn't merely a system of control, it was a validation of their perceived superiority in intellect and beauty, a justification for their dominion over others. Today, over a century since the dawn of independence for Latin American nations, governments claim the eradication of the racial caste system, asserting a colorblind society, yet dissenters, including scholars and everyday citizens, see through the veneer of progress. The economic hierarchy still bears the indelible marks of racial bias, while attitudes towards darker-skinned individuals persist in their portrayal as unattractive and inferior. And yes, it does affect how you view romantic partners as well. Now let's talk about a term tossed around with striking looseness, black supremacy. The notion of black supremacy is often misconstrued, misunderstood, lost in the labyrinth of historical context and societal conditioning. To truly grasp its essence, one must first comprehend the intricate tapestry of race as it was woven into the fabric of human consciousness. White supremacy, a term far more prevalent in our vernacular, stems from a deeply ingrained societal belief that the white race reigns supreme. This belief didn't just materialize out of thin air, it was meticulously cultivated over centuries, ingrained into the very fabric of our societies. But what of blackness? What of those whose melanin-rich skin sets them apart in a world where difference often breeds disdain? Black people, throughout history, have been relegated to the margins, their heritage devalued, their identity diminished by the looming shadow of colonialism. Black supremacy isn't just a misguided ideology, it's a myth. There are no systems in place, no entrenched beliefs, to uphold such a notion. Instead, what we're left with is a stark reality, a world where blackness is systematically devalued, where racism isn't merely about hurt feelings, but about the systemic subjugation of an entire race. Take Emiliano here. You might remember him from a previous encounter, where he led a campaign to vilify a young African woman, accusing her of being part of a movement aimed at dismantling the Native American and Chicano communities.
Zero on this.
Zero. And we can't say it loud enough or hard enough, people. We got 0 historically brown colleges and universities. And this is exactly what I'm almost talking about right now, is what is that, right? While it's a university that is run by Chicanos from top to bottom, just like you're seeing, HBCUs, deans, administrators, presidents, everything is black. So we need to start forming these universities where everything from top to bottom is brown.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yes, right. We need that. We need to show them that we could educate too. You know,
and
we have smart people. You know, we have intelligent people.
Correct. And that's critical race reality, Chicano. That's critical race reality. That's racism today. It's no longer, hey, we were slaves and we got, no, when you got 30 black colleges, universities in America, I got to tell you that, makes me, geez Louise, what happened to us, right? So things are going pretty good in the black community.
Dangerous rhetoric, indeed. But Emiliano's beliefs are more than just misguided. They're a glaring example of the deeply entrenched white supremacy woven into the fabric of our society. Emiliano seems to have missed a crucial lesson in history. He boldly claims that historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, are racist, displaying a profound ignorance of their purpose. Little does he know, Chicano students are not only welcome at HBCUs but also offered scholarships. His lack of understanding of his own heritage is staggering.
Actual people that are going around asking questions that are so mundane, that are so asinine, that it is amazing. And some of those questions are all white people racist? Like every white person in America wakes up just hating colored people. Another question, another asinine concept of critical race theory, right? Can black people be racist? If you can imagine that ignorance, that somehow, some way, the black man and woman has elevated to enlightenment to a degree that they transcend racism. If you can imagine that. And then go through TikTok and hear some of the crap that I have been having to hear, some of the names that I've been called by these people, and tell me how factual that is. And that's why I've invited my black brothers and sisters up here today, which I don't see any of them, to defend this theory. And I'm here for you. I'm here for you, brother. I'm here for you, sister. I need you to come up because I go to your lives and I fight 5 of you at a time, 6 of you at a time. And then you ask people to pay $2 for you. This was in the Black Live, Live to Be Great. I've invited him here. Is he going to show up? No doubt. No, share this, record it, give it to people, especially Chicanos, so that Chicanos can know what to say, so that they have an argument, so they can come back and say, well, can black people be racist? Yes. Well, you need power. You need power in order to be a racist. Well, let me tell you about a person named Barack Obama. But critical race reality in America today mandates that it doesn't matter what the facts are. It doesn't matter what the truth is. If you're white, you're right. If you're brown, turn around. If you're black, go to the back.
Here we have Emiliano demonstrating a profound lack of comprehension when it comes to the complex dynamics of race and racism. He casually invokes the name of Barack Obama, seemingly oblivious to the fact that even the most powerful position in the United States, that of the president, carries inherent limitations. Yet, Emiliano fails to grasp the essence of racism, which lies in the systemic subjugation of one group by another. It's clear that Emiliano's understanding of racism is sorely deficient. He utters statements like, if you're black, go to the back, revealing a rudimentary grasp of the social hierarchy, yet paradoxically chooses to disseminate misinformation. His subconscious appears to be at odds with his own diatribe, highlighting the inconsistencies in his rhetoric. Emiliano's ignorance underscores the importance of education and introspection in addressing the deeply rooted issues of race and inequality. It's imperative that we confront these misconceptions head-on and strive for a more nuanced understanding of the complexities surrounding race relations. Consider the words of Hispanic civil rights leaders like Gus Garcia. Gus said, "I know the Negroes aren't getting their full share of democracy, but frankly, I'm prejudiced against Negroes, and I do not believe that they are entitled to everything we get." Hector Garcia said, "We are not and have never been a civil rights organization. Personally, I hate the word." What did Garcia have against civil rights? Dr. Garcia didn't want to alienate whites in Texas or anywhere else by appearing to join the struggle of black people for civil rights. John J. Herrera wrote, "Latin Americans of Mexican descent belong to the Caucasian race and therefore white."
And yes, black people can be racist. They are now part of the system. They are now part of the institution. These organizations, the Writers Guild of America, when I was looking for an agent way back when I wanted to be a filmmaker, guess who the representative was? And I'll never forget her name. It was a black woman named Zara Bugs Taylor. And boy, I thought she really empathized with me. But she knew all along, just like everybody else did, that the doors were opening for black people. And that's all they can let in during the 80s and 90s.
Emiliano, aspired to be a screenwriter, seems to me that he harbors bitterness and resentment. Could it be that he's simply disgruntled because the doors to the exclusive circles of the white man remain closed to him? Perhaps. But what Emiliano fails to grasp is the wealth of knowledge waiting to be uncovered in his own history. Now, let's address something that's been making the rounds, particularly on platforms like TikTok. It's the trend of individuals claiming Native American ancestry, some with genuine connections, others merely grasping at straws. You can't reclassify yourself into a new demographic. It's not about how you choose to identify, it's about how the world perceives you, it's about the systemic structures that dictate our place in society. This is why I don't play with these types of individuals. Those who dabble in this kind of identity reshuffling, those who don the guise of a marginalized identity when it suits them, only to discard it when convenient, they're playing a dangerous game. They're allowed to dabble in the experiences of people of color, to don the costumes of oppression, but when push comes to shove, their true colors emerge. Because here's the reality, you can't simply shed your privilege like a coat when it suits you. You can't understand the struggles of a community you've never truly been a part of. So, to those who engage in this kind of cosplay, who treat the experiences of marginalized communities as a mere costume, know this, you're not fooling anyone.